Let me ask you a question.
What's good?
Oh, that's a beautiful intro. Really quickly, for everybody who's just tuning in right now, this is our segment From Kenya to the World, where we get to have a moment and sit down with prolific Kenyan artists, voices, figures who have traveled the world and come back, and they have wisdom to share. So today we have a special guest who would like to let Akinyi introduce.
Yes, because I absolutely love her.
Yes, you do.
She is a 26-year-old fashion designer. She is Kenyan, and her interest in making things started when she was younger, and she used to observe her grandmother make baskets and stuff. And that led her to a path of realizing that she could be a designer and create the African identity through design. And that's basically what she does. She's showcased at Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week in New York. She's showcased at Hub of Africa in Ethiopia. She's an FA 2054 finalist. She's everything. She's everything right now. An entrepreneur, has her own clothing store, Katungulu, Mwendwa, and another collective, Mufti, all based on luxury brands and luxury fashion. From
Hold up, Katush, wait a minute. I had Mercedes mentioned over there. Out of all those shows that you've featured in, which was your favorite?
I don't know. I think they were all different in many ways. I'm not sure. That was very exciting. That was very, very exciting. But I can't say Hub of Africa wasn't as exciting yet because I've never been to Addis. And so that was a new experience for me. Of course, I hadn't also been to New York. That was a shock to my system.
How so?
Because it's such a big city, I didn't actually have any help. So I was running around the city with like my clothing in my bag.
Oh,
so
that's a big first city to have no husband to.
Yeah, I think I went to the wrong showroom at first, and then but it was good fun. Like I love the experience. I would do it again.
Great.
Yes.
And these are some of your fashions of here that we've been watching as well, right?
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, because these films are so beautiful. I mean, it's really shot like a short film. Like, is this something you conceptualized? Was that shot here? Tell us how this happened.
One, I think locally we have so much talent. We have lots of excellent photographers, excellent video.
Yes, Jim Choo Choo.
Yeah, this was by Jim Choo Choo.
The Nest, right?
Yes, the Nest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Nest came up with this. I think they did a collection of. It was supposed to be an online fashion show, and I think they had 6 films with 6 different designers. And of course, this was just one of them. I was one of the designers, and I think that was the one they selected to show at the. It was a film festival in South Africa at that point, and so they selected mine, which was kind of exciting.
Damn.
Yeah, it was kind of exciting. I was like,
that's cool.
That's cool.
More people get to see my work.
How long did you start? Had you been establishing yourself here in Nairobi, in Kenya, before you started getting international offers, invitations, recognition?
I don't know if I can actually put it that way. When I finished high school, I didn't actually have the experience to be a fashion designer.
Okay.
So I remember, actually, I thought I was going to be a lawyer.
Whoa. Different.
Paradigms have changed.
Yeah, that was very weird. And then I think I got very lucky, and there were like a few competitions in fashion, and I think there was also music at that point. So I thought I'd experiment and see what would happen.
Cool.
So I jumped in, did one competition, ended up skipping into the next one, and I won. And so I was like, why am I wasting time thinking I'm going to be a lawyer?
That's what we like. That's what we like right there.
No.
That
Yeah,
real
I was
authentic
kind of
bravery.
scared and nervous. And then I was like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm pretending. My passion really is just the arts in general. And so I went in and I did fashion. And having won that, I think that was my first introduction into the market as a fashion designer. So I think started in 2007.
And that's something interesting. I'm talking about how you started up here, because you're not just a fashion designer. Most people who are fashion designers here are entrepreneurs of a field that got broken down and run down in the late 80s. And we always have this discussion about how the effects it's had on our industry and how it's affected how we buy clothes. And you have very strong views on mitumba. But as someone who's now in the eyes of an entrepreneur, how do you see what you're creating? How is the industry now? How is it compared to 10 years ago? How do you feel you guys are making a change by having stores, by putting your brands out there, by being there?
Of course, I wasn't there 10 years ago as a fashion designer. However, I feel like, one, we're facing very many challenges considering the textile industry and where it is now. It has both, I think, negative and positive effects on how much it costs to retail our stuff. But of course, it also allows us to be more creative in how we're going to do this and target our market. And I think in that sense, it's kind of cool. And then we've also noticed there's a lot more designers, I think, now. People who are willing to experiment and try different things that, of course, acting locally, thinking global, which is kind of cool. So I don't know.
What pieces of wisdom have you taken from your international travels that you've brought back and enacted to your local, your local efforts, your local market, do you think? Has anything really helped inform how you've moved forward since your travels?
It's very nice to see big brands started by more established brands by younger people. So I think here it's a little bit, the field is not that wide, but when you travel, you find lots of positive what do you call them? Mentors, no? Examples. Yeah, you find lots of positive examples. And so I think that's been very useful to me. And of course, we try to bring it back here where we can also inspire the young designers like ourselves.
I've got to ask. Katungulu, why don't you make clothes for men? Why don't you make clothes for us guys?
Let me just be fair. Men are very difficult. You like to pretend. I'll make you a jacket, and then you'll be like, Panatone looks like a chick's jacket. Now, because
so men are the divas.
Yeah, they're divas.
Men are the divas.
I'd like to put you in a dress.
I could pull a Kanye a little bit of something.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'd go.
He's lying.
I probably can't. No.
Lies,
we're going to have this discussion after.
That's cool.
I think that's actually an interesting question, though, because your designs are not particularly, I wouldn't say they're androgynous, but they are they're mixed sex, they're mixed gender, which I think is really cool. Did you have a difficult time when you first started in this market where people were like, that's not a girl's, that's not for women, that's for blah, blah, blah?
When I started, I was scared about many things. One, is it African, when you're starting? I think because I wasn't using print. And then I think I was so concerned about being comfortable that sometimes, of course, it crosses over because sometimes people just want to wear stuff that they enjoy. You can move around in, you can dress up a bit, I think, if you want. So you can play around with my stuff. So, of course, I try to make it
free flowing.
Yeah, so I think even men like free flowing stuff, I think. So I think this boy here would see himself in one of those.
Yeah, I could rock a little song. Maybe not the skirt on screen right now, but I could rock some. Which is actually I was even gonna ask, is it challenging? Of course, establishing yourself in a conservative country such as Kenya, and does that influence some of the designs that you make as far as you can't make too many racy things that people may not, ladies may not wear, like clothes which are too revealing. But at the same time, because you have an international audience and market that are looking forward to your collections,
they can buy your clothes and stuff.
So is it do you have to be careful how you strike that balance, or is it just I make my clothes, this is my style?
I make my clothes.
High five.
Do you, bro?
Yeah, I can't.
You just left me hanging.
It's cool.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Sorry. Can I get? Yeah, sorry.
She's not wearing Katungulu Mwendwa. She's not free with the high five.
We're gonna work on that.
Yeah, but speaking on when you said about your clothes not being African, but you say they are.
Yes.
Where do you base your designs on or from? What's inspiration?
Actually, which is quite weird. I think I initially started by saying my work is African because of the interpretation where I focus. I start by looking at African tribes, I focus on the shapes, the silhouettes, the forms that they have. Sometimes I actually focus on nature and the environment as well.
Wow.
I think there's many ways to interpret African design. I think that's where I'm coming from. And of course, I don't limit myself to saying, oh, print is the only way to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Print allows you to do a lot, and I think it's a great way of interpreting design, but it also limits my cut because I think when you have print, you can't really see the detail. And so I also tend to avoid that for that reason. Yeah.
I think that's incredible. I think it's actually that you're part of the reinterpretation of what is African, because I think especially, I don't know if you've experienced this, but in the Western world, often to people that aren't familiar with things that you're talking about, influences like tribe, silhouette, shape, things like that, they're just only going to see print and be like, oh, it's ethnic, you know, So I think now, as you progressively travel, you see more environments, you do more shows, are you noticing that people are able to kind of appreciate more of the finer details of what you bring, that you say like, this is African because I'm African, I'm from Africa, I'm influenced by that?
I think it's also quite cool when they don't even realize whether it's African or not, because now it's reached a point where we can compete on an international platform. So for them, they're like, it's different, it's interesting, it works in our environment, because when I design, I'm designing from an urban perspective. I grew up in Nairobi, and therefore lots of my stuff can fit in any city in the world, I think. So it's kind of cool the way they...
That's an interesting thing as well. I was going to ask you, because I know other friends of mine who are African designers have also run into frustrations when they've gone abroad. So the last thing I was going to say is the question of models that we were saying, like in Vogue, there's often many African designers or things like that, but the models end up being like all white people, or like very, you know, have you experienced that when you go abroad, like that you don't get to have models wearing your fashions that you would like to be representing your clothes?
I think, particularly I think when I did New York Fashion Week, I was given a broad option. I could pick any models I wanted. And I think it's interesting what the models that people select, because it's up to the designer after all. But I guess for them I don't know. I'm not sure I understand that one yet.
But in that case, would you suggest that more people and more Africans and more people of color in general from the South Americas, Asias, Africa and everything create their own media platforms and make more of this culture stuff, fashion, you know, a big thing, so that we can cover it instead of complaining that we're not on Vogue? Because at the end of the day, Vogue is not ours. And maybe that's why you're starting up a company of your own here, because this is ours. It's not theirs. It's by us.
Yes.
So is that the movement you think we should follow?
That would be interesting. Find your market. Target your market. I think, that's it. Just target your market. The rest is...
Well, I think you're definitely a beautiful example of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here today.
Actually, if you guys want to find you, Katush, where can they, on social media, see your pages, website, blah, 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 blah.
Want to learn how to spell my name?
Okay. Start with that.
I'm the only person with that name. So if you can spell Katungulu Mwendwa, you'll find me everywhere. Like social media, of course, thingy, what's it called? That one.
That one.
Yeah, it's
Twitter.
Yeah,
Twitter.
Yes, I'm also on Twitter.
Okay.
I have Facebook. I have a website as well, which is www.katungulumwendwa.com, which also has all my Facebook, Twitter at the bottom of the page, which you can just follow.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yo,
Beautiful.
Katush,
Yes.
I just want to say a big thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us here on the
I
first
can't
show.
wait to wear something.
That's awesome. You look
She's
fantastic.
wearing one of her designs.
You're wearing your
wearing
own.
a jacket.
You're wearing one of your own designs, yes?
Yes, today I'm wearing one of my jackets.
But of course.
Beautiful.
Yes.
But
Can I
of
touch
course.
this?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Wow.
That's lovely.
You should be jealous.
It was wonderful.
Yo,
That's
so Katungulu,
gorgeous.
thank you so much for coming
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing some of your collections. You can send something
Yeah,
my
of
way
course,
since
yeah.
we're neighbors.
Of course, by the way.
Nice neighbors just down there.
And we
So-
have another young entrepreneur coming up.
Exactly. Carrying one of the trend. And it's a lady as well. Yo,
It is a lady.
fellas.
You know.
Girl power.
As women, step
It
in.
doesn't matter. Anyway, guys, Katungulu Mwendwa, that's been, of course, from Kenya to the world. Crossing borders, putting our country on the map as well as herself. So
True.
Thank you.
we'll be keeping an eye out for you.
Asante.
So asante sana.
Thank